Hello Jeopardy! Fans, and welcome back to the channel. Get ready to put on your thinking caps because we are about to dive deep into a full recap and analysis of today's incredible episode. The energy in the studio was electric, the clues were devilishly clever, and the contestants brought their agam. Whether you watched it live and want to relive the best moments, or you missed it and need the full scoop, you've come to the right place. We're going to break down every round from the opening salvos in the Jeopardy. Round 2, the nail-biting tension of Final Jeopardy. So, grab a snack, get comfortable, and let's get started. The board opened up, and right away, we could tell it was going to be a fascinating game. Our returning champion, who has been on an impressive streak, stood at the center podium looking confident but focused. To their right and left were two new challengers, both with impressive backgrounds and a clear hunger for victory. The first category chosen was Literary Lions, a classic for a reason. The first few clues were picked off quickly, with all three contestants getting on the board early. It was a great way to start, showing that this wasn't going to be a runaway game. Everyone was in it to win it. Then, the first daily double was uncovered. It was found by our challenger on the left, who had been trailing slightly. This was their moment to make a significant move. The category was world capitals, and with a modest score, they decided to wager a good chunk of it. The clue was a tricky one, asking for the capital of a lesser-known country. Could see the gears turning. They took a deep breath, gave their answer, and it was correct. Fantastic strategic play that instantly tightened the race and put the pressure back on our returning champion. That's the magic of the daily double, isn't it? It can change the entire dynamic of the game in a single moment. As we moved through the first round, the categories were wonderfully diverse. We had everything from pop culture collabs to scientific breakthroughs. One of my favorite categories was before and after, which always leads to some hilarious and mind-bending combinations. The contestants had a bit of fun with that one, and you could hear the audience chuckle a few times. By the end of the Jeopardy round, the scores were incredibly close. Our champion held a slight lead, but both challengers were well within striking distance. The stage was perfectly set for an intense double Jeopardy round. No one was giving an inch, and the intellectual battle was just getting started. The double Jeopardy round began, and the stakes were, well, doubled. The clues immediately felt more challenging, designed to separate the good players from the great ones. A category on 19th century composers proved to be a goldmine for our returning champion, who seemed to have a deep knowledge of classical music. They rattled off several correct responses in a row, building up their lead and showing why they've been so successful. But the challengers didn't back down. One of them found the first daily double of the round under Anatomy 101. They knew they had to make a big wager to stay in the game, and they bet it all a true daily double. The clue was about a specific bone in the human hand. The contestant paused, thinking it through carefully. It was a high-pressure situation, with the game potentially on the line. After a moment of suspense that felt like an eternity, they delivered their response, and it was spot on. The studio audience erupted in applause. What a gutsy move. And it paid off beautifully, launching them right back into contention. This is what we love to see. Smart, strategic gameplay combined with pure courage. It completely shifted the momentum once again. Not long after, the final daily double was uncovered by our other challenger, who had been playing a steady and consistent game. It was their chance to make a big splash. The category was American history, and they decided on a substantial wager aiming to take the lead. The clue was about a lesser-known treaty from the early 20th century. This was a real test of knowledge. The contestant gave an answer, but you could tell from their expression they weren't entirely sure, and unfortunately, it was incorrect. It was a tough break, and you have to feel for them. It's a risk you have to take in double Jeopardy. But it doesn't always work out. That single miss created some distance in the scores heading into the final moments of the round. As the final few clues were cleared from the board, our returning champion had managed to build a commanding, but not insurmountable lead. They played that last category masterfully, controlling the board and picking off the high-value clues. The challenger who hit the true daily double was in a solid second place, while our third contestant, despite the tough break, was still in the game with a respectable total. It all came down to this. The music played, the scores were locked in, and the Final Jeopardy category was revealed. Famous quotes. This is always a great category for a final showdown because it can be so unpredictable. The clue was revealed, and it was a poignant one, attributed to a major historical figure. It read, "This leader, in a 1940 speech to their nation's people, famously said, 'We shall never surrender.'" The contestants began to write down their responses. This felt like a clue that most people at home might know, but under the studio lights with everything on the line, can you be certain? We saw our third-place contestant write quickly, looking confident. Our second-place player took a bit more time, deep in thought. And our champion, from their position of a strong lead, carefully calculated their wager. This is where strategy is just as important as knowledge. You have to consider what your opponents might wager and what you need to bet to secure the win. The moment of truth arrived. Our third-place contestant revealed their response. Winston Churchill. Correct? And their wager? They bet everything, doubling their score. Great finish for them, ending on a high note regardless of the final outcome. Next, it was our second-place challenger. Their response was also Winston Churchill, and they too had wagered it all. This put immense pressure on our champion. It was a brilliant move, forcing the champion to be correct to win. The whole game hinged on this final response. Finally, we turned to our returning champion. They had the correct answer, Winston Churchill. But the crucial part was the wager. Had they bet enough to cover the challenger's Ellen bet? They revealed their wager, and it was a smart, calculated amount, just enough to secure the victory by a few $100s. What a finish. A truly masterful game played by all three contestants. Our champion lives to play another day, but they were tested every step of the way. Hats off to the challengers for putting up such an incredible fight and making this one of the most exciting episodes we've seen in a while. What an episode, right? The back and forth, the strategic wagers, the high-stakes daily doubles. It had everything a Jeopardy fan could ask for. Just goes to show you that every game is unique, and you can never predict what's going to happen. Let me know in the comments what you thought of today's game. What was your favorite category? Did you get Final Jeopardy? Right? I love reading your thoughts and discussing the finer points of the game with all of you. It's always a blast to share in the excitement. Thank you so much for hanging out and reliving today's amazing episode with me. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want more daily Jeopardy, recaps and analysis, make sure to hit that like button, and more importantly, subscribe to the channel so you never miss an update. Ring that notification bell too. It really helps the channel grow, and it means I can keep bringing you this content every single day. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow for the next game. Take care.